if I have a priority to go achieve something in 2025 and then my spouse is trying to pull me in a different direction, why? Because she naturally will. I live with her and her life is intertwined with my life and we are supposed to be building something together. So if I'm not communicating what it is that I'm doing, man, she's going to be going somewhere else. She's going to try and pull me in a different direction. And guess what? I'm also doing that because we are not joined together in trying to achieve a goal, a dream, a vision for our marriage collectively. So then, if she steps on me or tries to pull me in a different direction, I'm going to be frustrated. Then that's going to increase conflict. And what also tends to happen is,
hey, what's up? Welcome to That Husband podcast with me, Black Newborn. Here we are husbands who aren't where we want to be, but certainly are not where we used to be. We are imperfect, always failing forward, trying to know better so that we can do better.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to That Husband podcast with me, Black Newborn. This is where husbands in 2025 are still trying to know better so that we can continue doing better. Shout outs to everybody who's part of our community, part of this family. Man, you guys showed us immense support last year in 2024. We put out content hoping to inspire a few husbands, but the feedback that we got truly encouraged us, inspired us, and has motivated us to come back even bigger, greater, and stronger in 2025 to continue inspiring one husband with one episode at a time. Hopefully, we will strengthen one family at a time and eventually impact the rest of the country and change South Africa for the better. All right, so thank you so much. If you are joining us for the first time, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, so that you're updated on every single episode we drop every Wednesday at 11:30. Nothing has changed to those who are regular. We're still dropping on a Wednesday. And man, who knows? We might even be dropping on other extra days this year because we're just that excited and that motivated. All right, so thank you so much to everybody. Thank you if you are joining us for the first time. Hopefully you'll stick around and you'll become part of this community and what it is that we are building here. Stick around till the end of the video because we have exciting plans for 2025 that we want to share with you guys. So please do stick around for that. Let's get into today's video. As I think about 2025, I know most of us have already come up with our personal goals, our personal plans, our career goals, our career plans, maybe even things that we wanted to get right in our faith. So we coming up with our faith visions. But man, let me ask you this. Why haven't you come up with a vision, a dream, a plan for one of the most significant relationships in your life? And that is your marriage. Why haven't you come up with a vision, a dream, a plan of how your marriage is going to look like for the next 5 to 10 years? And that might even be a long stretch. You don't even have capacity to think that far. But man, have you come up with a plan of how your marriage, your relationship is going to be in 2025? That's what we want to talk about here, because I wonder if you've ever thought about why other couples tend to move in perfect harmony while others tend to constantly be at odds. And you might feel like one of those couples, or you're part of a couple that is constantly at odds. Let me tell you what I think the secret is to why certain couples seemingly move in perfect harmony. I think it's this ability for them to align their dreams, their values, and their goals. It's a practice known as intentional living. When I think back to 2022, 2023, man, the word intentional was really rammed to the ground. Everybody was talking about showing up intentionally, and it was, just misused. But it became something that is so obvious, but in practice, experientially, living intentionally is hard. It is hard. Okay. And it's hard when you are an individual. Now I can only imagine how hard it is for you as a couple. In fact, I don't have to imagine it. I've been married for 11 years this year. In March, we are hitting 11 years. My wife hates it when I project and she says, no, we're still 10 years. I know. But March is around the corner and we are hitting 11 years. Right? You can give me digital claps, man. In fact, celebrate my wife. She survived me for 11 years, right? So intentional marriage is a hard thing because let's be honest, guys, when you are dating, two things are happening. One, you bring your best representative forward, the most polite version of you, the most loving version of you, the most serving version of you. You are so patient. Why? Because consciously you want to win over the person that you're dating and you want to marry them. And so you are bringing out your best representative. You are putting your best foot forward. And secondly, what's happening underneath this best representative, what's undergirding him or her, what's driving him or her is these wonderful things called feelings. Okay. And when we are dating, our feelings are at an ultimate high and very unnatural. And they're just driving us. But what happens when we cross over that invincible threshold of marriage, that invisible line that I believe is there when we say I do? I don't know what that line is, but I know that we do cross it, okay? What happens is that we tuck away this best representative of ourselves, best version of who we are. We tuck him or her away, and then out of the closet comes your real self, with your real background, with your real thoughts, with your real dreams, real values, and real goals. And that's happening simultaneously with your spouse. And then suddenly there's this clash of worlds that come together. And some couples recover within the first 3, 4, 5 years. Others, man, take 10 years, 20 years for them to actually realize, man, we were not aligned when it comes to our dreams, our values, our goals. And I think what happens practically is we come in with our individual priorities and then we focus on those so much that we don't realize that the further we are focusing on our individual priorities, the further we are drifting away from each other. And man, then what tends to happen is the unfortunate thing, the big D word that we all try and avoid. And that is divorce. So how do we help you here at That Husband Podcast this year in 2025 not get to the D word? How do we help you not break off, not separate, not live in a marriage that's unhealthy, not live in a marriage that's unfruitful? I think if you guys learn how to come up with a goal for your marriage, come up with a vision, come up with a dream, plan for how you are going to intentionally live in your marriage. Listen to this. In South Africa, unexpected or uncommunicated expectations are a significant factor contributing to divorces. According to the SA Family Law Guide, a major issue contributing to around 70% of divorces in South Africa is unmet expectations or uncommunicated expectations. And you might be thinking to yourself, Black, pause, man. I thought that sex and money are the biggest reasons why people divorce. And I would say it is true that sex and money are very big contributing factors to divorce. But I think they tend to be presenting issues. Underneath sex and money are uncommunicated, unmet expectations. A person, you have a purpose, you have dreams, you are just not made from thin air. You are made in God's image, and God has deposited things in you that you want to see come to life in this world so that you can contribute as a citizen, as a human. You can contribute to building this thing called the world. And so all of us who get married come into marriage with our dreams, with our goals, with our visions, with our priorities, with the things that God has deposited in us. And so if we don't communicate those, or if those things aren't met, man, I think then they tend to show up in the area of money, in the area of sex. Let me actually go deeper in that and explain what I mean. If I have uncommunicated expectations or unmet expectations, I came into my marriage with a dream. So then I look at the state of our finances and then I think to myself, maybe my dreams are not being actualized because look at how much money we have. Look at how much, how our money is limited. So I cannot achieve my goals. I cannot achieve my dreams. And then instead of saying to my spouse, man, I feel like my dreams are unmet because we have little pockets. Maybe together we can work at how we can increase our bag so that it can help me with achieving my dreams or my goals. I don't communicate that. And then what happens is when we get to the divorce court and I have to cite the reasons for why we divorced, I say it's money. It's money, because I am not consciously thinking it is because my dreams are unmet. I did not communicate my dreams and therefore this person is we just get there and say it's money. Why? Because you saw how little you have, and then you realize internally this cannot meet the kind of dreams that I want to achieve. Or when it comes to sex, you're frustrated when it comes to your unmet expectations or uncommunicated expectations. Your goals are not being met, your purpose is not being fulfilled, and then you get so frustrated it shows up in the bedroom. So when you get to the divorce court, when you cite your reasons for divorcing, you say it's sex. But really what's happening under those two big presenting issues is uncommunicated expectations. Again, the stat says that 70% of divorces in South Africa are attributed to uncommunicated, unmet expectations. And I tend to agree with that. So, man, let's not drift. Let us not focus on ourselves this year if you are married, but let's focus on each other. Let's focus on this union that we are building. Okay, so let me give you 4 reasons why I think living intentionally in your marriage is going to be such a beneficial thing for you guys this year. 4 reasons that will also help you stick around so that you can find a lot of value in this video, that you can go sit down with your spouse. If you're a husband, I'm encouraging you to take lead when it comes to this exercise. If you're a wife watching this, I'm encouraging you to go ask your husband, urge him to say, hey man, I'm asking you to take lead on this. You're going to be driving what our family vision is. You need to be the custodian for it. You need to look after it. So let's sit down together and come up with a goal, a dream, a vision, a plan for our marriage in 2025 so that we are thriving and don't end up in that ugly D section, right? We don't want to get there. If you are single and watching this, man, this is things that I'm hoping that you're taking notes so that when you eventually get to the place of getting married, before you even say I do, that you introduce such healthy practices to intentionally approach your marriage. And hopefully, man, this is going to be encouraging. In fact, even in any other stage of relationship that you are in, if you're engaged, man, you can use this exercise. If you are dating and you really want to date intentionally with the aims of getting married, you can use this exercise as well. So 4 reasons. The first one, living intentionally in your marriage is really going to strengthen your emotional connection. Emotional connection is really vital for when you guys get into those hardcore frictional moments when you're butting heads, when the world around you with external pressures are really coming at you and overwhelming you and your marriage. Again, our marriages don't exist on some fancy island away from the brokenness and the sinfulness of the world. Our marriages don't exist in heaven where things are perfect, but they exist in this world. And so, man, we need to make sure that if our emotional connection is not strengthened, we are really going to have a hard time just dealing with the world around us, dealing with our own friction towards each other. Our emotional connection is really going to be the glue that keeps us going, so that we don't get there to that ugly D section that I'm praying and hoping that you can avoid in 2025 for the rest of your marriage, in fact. Right? Second reason, it's going to reduce conflict and miscommunication. Okay, conflict and miscommunication. If we have misaligned priorities and we are individually chasing after our own goals and our own dreams, and we're not doing that together, man, it really increases conflict. Why? Because if I have a priority to go achieve something in 2025, and then my spouse is trying to pull me in a different direction, why? Because she naturally will. I live with her, and her life is intertwined with my life, and we are supposed to be building something together. So if I'm not communicating what it is that I'm doing, if I'm not communicating what it is or where it is that I'm going, man, she's going to be going somewhere else. She's going to try and pull me in a different direction. And guess what? I'm also doing that because we are not joined together in trying to achieve a goal, a dream, a vision for our marriage collectively. So then if she steps on me or tries to pull me in a different direction, I'm going to be frustrated. Then that's going to increase conflict. And what also tends to happen is I'm always going to be miscommunicating. Why? Because I haven't invited her to my dream, which I shouldn't be inviting her to my own personal individual goals. Why? Are we supposed to be building something together? Is there room for me to be doing things individually? Sure, within reason. And I think that reason is I've already, with my wife, determined what our marital goal is. Therefore, anything I do as an individual, I can still do, but it's supposed to benefit this one grand goal, this meta goal that we have come up with as a couple. But if I don't, then I'm always going to be miscommunicating because she's not where I am going. She is not in my own personal corner of this little island or kingdom that I'm trying to build for myself. So I need to make sure that, one, I am not pulling in a different direction with my wife, but together we are sitting down so that we have one goal. And if we do that intentionally, that's going to reduce conflict and miscommunication. The third reason, it's going to encourage resilience. As I mentioned in our first reason, our marriages don't exist in some perfect heavenly island away from this real world that we're existing in, but our marriages are in a fallen, broken, and sinful world. And so we're going to have a lot of hard times, a lot of struggle, a lot of suffering that's either going to come from us together or us individually, or it's going to come externally from us, whether it's in-laws, it's social circles, it's at work, it's at church, wherever it is, we're still going to have a lot of challenges because we live this side of heaven. And so if we are not intentionally coming together with a plan, a goal, a dream for who we are as a couple, as a married couple, man, it's really going to be hard for us, especially in those challenging times. Man, health is an important thing, and you just never know when one of you is going to be in a health crisis, when one of you is going to be in a health issue. So if you are not coming together and saying, man, this is who we are, and we are pressing towards one goal, one dream, one vision for us, if one of you is sick, man, if I was doing my own thing already and this person is sick, they're inconvenience. Then my wife becomes an inconvenience to me building my dream, you slowing me down because I'm there doing my own thing. But if we are together, man, we can adjust things because we are both building together. We can pause things so that she's not feeling pressure, or maybe I'm the one who's sick. I'm not feeling pressure to say, oh, look at me, I'm sick, what's going to happen to me, etc., etc. But we can say together, hey, we here. Remember where it is that we're going. We can pause that so that we can look after you, and we're going to be more resilient. We're going to adjust things together. We're going to try and change our weekly schedule. We're going to try and change when our date nights are. Whatever the thing is that we have sat down and actually put practical steps towards this goal, we can adjust those practical steps if we are together. Financial crises come. You suddenly plan that you're going to achieve, X amount of money this year, and this is how much you're starting with, and life just happens. What happens in those moments if we are pulling in different directions? Man, I'm going to pull from my own money that I get from my job. I'm not going to tell my wife because now I need to cover things up and I need to patch things because I'm trying to build my own kingdom. And then eventually the inevitable thing that happens is that the family suffers, because if I'm spending money outside of the family and I'm doing my own thing, man, my wife, my child, they're going to suffer, and vice versa. If my wife is spending money without me knowing, man, we are going to suffer. Okay, so if we are together and financial crises happen, we can still rebuild together. We can still come together and say, hey, let's really work at this, right? Man, if we are intentionally living in our marriage, then we are going to create a legacy of unity for our children, for our community, for our extended family, for our social circles. If we are resilient together, if we are decreasing our miscommunication and our conflict, if we are growing in our emotional connection, our emotional health, and our relationship is going year after year after year after year, man, our kids benefit from that. They see what unity looks like firsthand. They see what resilience in marriage and relationship looks like. They see what commitment, they see what sacrifice, they see what planning, what dreaming, what envisioning together looks like. And that's going to really be a benefit for them in all relationships that they find themselves in. But this is also going to be an encouragement for those around us. Many other marriages are struggling, but if they see your marriage really pushing, not in some very airy way, but really realistically in real time, fighting through all the conflict, all the tension, all the external pressures, man, people around you will be encouraged. So know that your marriage is not just for you. being a husband is not just for you. In fact, in one of our episodes with Muzim Tabela, he made that very, very clear, which is something that resonates with us. We agree with here on this podcast. Even personally, I know that I'm not just a husband for my wife only. I am primarily for her, but my role as a husband also speaks to my child, speaks to those around me who are aspiring to be husbands, who are also aspiring to have families, who are aspiring to be leaders. So I know that my role really touches the rest of society. And that's our dream. That's our hope here. So, man, please, please, please try and live intentionally in 2025 for those 4 reasons. Cool. So let's continue with the rest of the video, where I just want to give you some practical steps. How are you going to do this? If you're a husband, man, you're probably wondering to yourself, man, these are great reasons for me to intentionally live in my marriage. If you're a wife, you're thinking, this is great stuff for me to go urge my husband so that we can sit down and have a plan for our marriage in 2025. But Black, where do I start? Where are the practical steps? Man, let's get into some of those. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to give you at least 3 practical steps for you to consider. As a husband, things that you can say, now I'm going to sit down with my wife and this is where we are going to start. Maybe let's start here with practical steps. Let me give you a definition, a succinct definition of what intentional living is, because it's going to inform what these practical steps are. Living intentionally means making choices aligned with your values and long-term vision rather than reacting to circumstances. Right? If we are living as people who react to circumstances, you're old enough to know what kind of life that is. You are always in the back foot of life. You are always reacting to things. So you never plan, you never go ahead of things. So you're never really in control of where it is that your marriage is going. Ultimately, I know that God is in control of all things, but man, he gives us responsibility for us to really steward well the things he's gifted us with, and that includes our marriages. So if we are not going to be intentionally living, we are constantly going to be on the back foot of life. And that is a miserable place to be. That's how you end up in that dreadful D section that nobody wants to get to, because you are constantly reacting. If you don't plan and then you know something is going to upset your wife is going to come back to you and say, this thing has upsetted me for the 100th time right now. Man, I am really up to here. I am tired. And man, you're constantly going to be reacting. You're going to react to that, and then you're going to neglect something else. And then those fires are going to start. You're going to react to that and neglect the thing that is very important to you. And then you're going to start trying to put out that fire. Another fire starts. And that's just going to be a painful, miserable, and horrible place for you to be at. So, man, I don't want you to do that. Again, let us live intentionally. Step number 1. Sit down with your wife, sit down with your husband, sit down with your partner, and then individually, okay? You have pieces of paper, you have a pen, or maybe you're going to do this digitally, and I don't know how your pockets are deep. Maybe they're very deep and you guys have iPads and you're going to do this thing digitally, okay? Whatever, but you both sitting down with things to write on, okay? And then what you should both do is write your core values for your family, core values for your career, core values for your faith, core values for your social circles, core values for where you think you want to see yourself in 5, 6, 7, 10 years, okay? What are the things that will really drive me in the moments of conflict, in the moments of tough times, tough seasons, the things that make me who I am, the things that I'm not going to deviate from, the things that I know give me a sense of belonging and identity. What are those core values for your faith, for your family, for your career, for your social circles, who you are as a person? Write those things together, okay? Just write them with no reservation. Don't try and bring your best representative forward. If you've been married, you know that you've tucked that guy or girl in the closet already, in the wardrobe, okay? That person is in the wardrobe and your real self is out. So write what you truly value. What do I value about my faith? What are the core tenets of my faith? What are the core tenets of what I believe makes a family? What are the core tenets of what I believe makes a good parent? What are the core tenets of what is going to be a good career? What are the core core tenets of what I think makes good friendships. Write all those things down. Step number 2, sit down with both your lists. Okay, my wife brings her list, I bring my list with everything that's in there. And remember that you've written this list as clearly, as honestly as you can, because your best representative is tucked away in the wardrobe and your real self is here. Just another tip here, do not be shocked at what you see on your spouse's list, okay? Don't be like, hey, man, this is you. This is what you think of this, okay? I mean, just have a honest, heart-to-heart, loving, caring, knowing that the other person has bet themselves and they've really opened who they are to you. And you might think to yourself, I thought married people are supposed to have already done that. Man, we humans, and we are unfolding as we are, continuing in this thing called marriage. And we came in with honest intentions. We came in with all of who we are, but we are also growing, developing, changing. And so there's parts of us that are coming up and we like, man, I didn't know this is what I truly believe. There's things that shock me as well as an individual as I live in real time, and I'm in friction with my wife, in friction with my daughter, in friction with work, in friction with trying to build a career, in friction with all of life. There's things that are coming out of me and I'm like, man, I didn't believe I hold that in my heart. I don't believe that's me in my thought. Or my wife calls me out on something and says, look at how you behaved here. And I'm like, that's me. Why? Because I also have a perception of who I think I'm showing up to be in the world. But people are also experiencing another version of me that I might not be thinking that's what I'm putting out. Okay. So there's things that will shock me even as I write my list. So don't act too shocked when you see something on your spouse's list, but have a heart-to-heart, be loving, be caring. Then within that, there's going to be things that are overlapping, goals and values, and you're going to see things where it's like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, you believe that. I believe that's dope, right? Celebrate those things, high five each other on those things. And those things are actually going to be what guides you for your third step, okay? But there's also going to be areas of difference where you're like, man, I didn't know this is how you want to parent. Man, I didn't know this is what you thought about money. Man, it's not I didn't know you think about where you want to live in 10 years or 5 years or whatever the case is, right? And so in those areas, again, slow down, be patient with each other. There might be a bit of conflict, but man, come together and walk towards each other. I say this to my wife every single time we come to a place, a conversation, a topic, a value where I'm like, we're clearly not on the same page. So what I say to her visually, I'm like, man, we are on the opposite sides of the room and we just need to get to the middle of the room together. So it's going to be awkward as we walking towards each other. I'm going to say stuff that needs justification. You're going to say stuff that needs to be explained more. I'm going to say stuff that might be offensive. You're going to say stuff that really hurts me. But we need to be walking towards each other in the middle of the room. And guess what happens? Every single time we get to the middle of the room, man, we are better together. My wife says to me, God, this was hard. I knew you said we're getting to the middle of the room, but I didn't know this is where we needed to be. And I'm also there like, relieved because this was a bit awkward for us to come to the middle of the room. So that's going to happen. And here's where the most painful part is going to be. I actually gave a talk on what it looks like for you to come up with a family dream together. And part of what I said in that talk really hits us in this step now. There's going to be things that you came in with. And here's the thing, you believe God gave you that thing. You believe this is what God designed you for. You believe from when you were a child, you were molded by your family, your society, the kind of schools you went to, the things you watched, the books you read, and this is the thing that you're supposed to be now, okay? Here's a very hard pill to swallow. The minute you say, I do, all those things take a back burner. All those things take a back seat. And so now you're going to come here and see each other's lists and compare them, and you're going to experience that there's things that are different. And so you're going to either have to compromise or sacrifice. Compromise means, man, we can come to the middle together. Sacrifice means that there's things I'm going to have to get rid of. Maybe you thought, I am supposed to be this amazing engineer. And you sitting down with your list and you're like, man, if I'm going to be an engineer here with the kind of lists that we have and the kind of goal that we want to come to together and achieve as a couple, being an engineer is probably going to take too much of my time. It's going to take me out of the home most of the time. I'm not saying that's all engineers. I'm just, or a doctor. Man, that's going to take me out of the house, or whatever the case is. Maybe you have to give that up. Hard. Maybe you have to give that up. Okay. And if you can't find a way on how you can still achieve that thing, and how that thing is actually going to be a catalyst to promote your grand, big couple goal, if you can't find a way that thing is going to be a catalyst towards that, you're going to have to sacrifice it, because your spouse is actually more important than your own individual dreams. And that's hard. That's hard. And this works both ways. I know that there's a lot of wives whose dreams have been crushed by husbands who are not even considerate of their dreams. They weren't even doing this process with them. They just said, I'm the man of the house. This is how things are going to go. And your dreams are crushed. Man, that's a different thing. Your dreams are not supposed to be crushed. You guys were supposed to come to this place together with your list and then determine collectively as a couple, are your dreams supposed to be left out of what it is that we're going to do because they can't be a catalyst to help us achieve our couple goal? Or can we actually use it as a catalyst? They weren't supposed to be discarded at all. And so I know there's wives who hear this and think to themselves, man, I can't even digest that because my dreams have been crushed over and over and over and over. And so I'm urging you, I'm encouraging you to do this exercise with your husband again and have this conversation of what you believe God has deposited in you and brought into your marriage that needs to be relooked again. But if you've done this exercise, this is going to probably be the hardest part, where you have to sacrifice. Compromise, we can meet at the middle, but sacrifice, there's things I need to check out. There's things that I had dreams for, how I'm going to raise my kids, and now I'm realizing that's probably not going to work because I need to prioritize my spouse and what her list is. And when we come together, what is this thing that we are building for us as a couple? Man, this thing that I had in my mind is not going to work, right? It's probably going to be hard. Ask open-ended questions here. And open-ended questions mean that these are questions that require the person to give an in-depth response. So don't ask yes or no questions. Man, I see that you value going to church 5 times a week. Is this true? Yes. Okay. That doesn't give you the sense and the reasons and the thinking and the feeling behind why that person made that a value for their faith. Okay, so ask open-ended questions. Man, why do you want to go to church 5 times a week and not 3 times? I mean, people go to church on Sunday only, and maybe on a Wednesday when they have a midweek group or a life group or cell group or whatever you call it. But why do you want to go to church every day? What is this thing? What's happening behind? Try and find open-ended questions so that your spouse can really open up and give you their feeling, give you their thoughts, give you what it is that's driving them in the values that they've listed on their list. Okay. Third stage, this is where you merge. Okay. You have to then merge all of these things and come up with what I call key principles that guide your relationship. Key principles that guide your relationship. In fact, me and my wife have 7 key guiding principles for our marriage and our family, and we recite those as a family every night when we put our daughter to sleep. We sit together, do the night routine, and then at the end of the night routine, we recite our 7 guiding principles for our family and our marriage. And those really help us. One, to remember where it is that we're going. Secondly, it helps us that in real time, when we are experiencing some friction, or maybe we want to make a decision for our goal together as a couple, as a family, we can say, hey, remember principle number 2 says this. This is why I want us to go in that direction. Did you hear that language? I want us to go in that direction. We are going together, and these principles are going to be guiding us so that we can achieve this couple goal, this couple dream, this couple plan that we have come up with together. What is our couple dream? What are, from the lists that we have individually, what are the guiding principles, key guiding principles that we are going to come up with. We have 7, you might have 10, you might have 3, and our 7 kind of built over the years, okay? They built over the years. When we eventually sat down last year and came up with them and wrote them down, and said, this is what's going to be our guiding principles. Man, we sat down in this planning phase and we were like, hey, from the time we were dating, what were some of the key things that kind of guided us? Oh, that one. Okay, this one. Second year, what happened there? Oh, we recovered from that because of this. Okay, so then we kind of took all of these guiding principles from the time that we've been together. Married for 11 years, we were dating for a year and a half, so 12 years and a half. We took all those lessons and we then came up with our 7 guiding principles. Merge them, that's the step. Okay, as we come to the end of this video, here are strategies for you to kind of stay on track, because you are going to life is going to happen and you might get off track and things will be a bit tough. But before we even give you this, man, I would like to hear what you think so far. So leave a comment. Tell me what you think about just living intentionally in your relationship. Tell me about what you think about the lists that we've mentioned. So just before I even give you the closing statements for this video, man, tell me. I'd love to hear what it is that you are thinking right now. Where are you in your relationship status? Maybe you can tell me. Just put there, I'm engaged, I'm single, I'm looking for somebody, I'm married, I'm a wife, I'm a husband. It would be dope for me to kind of hear where you are. So strategy for you to stay on track: have regular check-ins. That could be weekly, that could be monthly. It will depend on you. So for us, we trying to get that on a weekly basis. We kind of fell off a bit last year. We tried, and then we'd be consistent for a couple of weeks, fall off, et cetera, and life just happens. But if you don't plan for it, then you have nothing to fall off from, and you have nothing to get back to, okay? So we trying to do it weekly. Me and my wife have an off day, and so on our off day, we try and sit down and just have these weekly check-ins. Even the man is like, yo, man, let's get to it, right? Anyway, but we try and have these weekly check-ins. So it's going to be dependent on you. And then on a daily basis, we recite our 7 key principles that guide our relationship. We recite those every night. So that's another way for us to stay on track. So it's you can do that every night before you sleep as well. If you're a couple, we do it with our child so that because these guiding principles impact our family as well. And so we trying to do that to remind her of who we are as a family, as we remind ourselves of who we are as a couple. So we try and do that every night. And then every week we're going to try and check in. So it's going to be really up to you, but set something in place and have a plan for how you're going to constantly check in. Have accountability partners. Find other couples that are either doing the same thing or older couples that will really check up on you, so you can tell them, man, every week call me as the husband, and maybe your wife can call my wife, or you guys as a couple can call us and just be like, so have you done your check-in? Where are you guys? How are you doing? Man, you've hit a financial snag here. How are you guys overcoming that, etc., etc. Right? Or you're doing this with other couples who are at the same stage of marriage. So you married roughly the same amount of years. You have, you have kids who are at the same age, same stage of life, etc. Find somebody or a couple that you can really work with so that they can be accountability partners for this. And then thirdly, how you're going to stay on track. Celebrate whenever you hit milestones. Okay, so we wanted to save 50 Rand by the end of Jan. So when you get to the end of January and you've saved your 50 Rand, celebrate that thing. Don't be like, whatever. Celebrate that thing. Make a big deal of it. Remind each other, this is where we're going as a couple. This is who we are. Remind each other and celebrate that thing, right? Make it special. Doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. Again, we always try and keep things very cheap on this podcast because we know that, man, money is a big thing and we want you to thrive financially as you thrive in the health details of your marriage, and we don't want finances to be a thing that really gets you to that dreadful D-section. So make sure that this is really affordable and you can celebrate, make a big deal about it. If you have kids, draw them in and say, hey, listen, mom, dad wanted to do this and we've done it. Celebrate with them. Give them a culture of celebration as well, right? So celebrate those milestones. So those 3 things, or 4 rather, we do daily check-in, have a weekly check-in or monthly check-in, have accountability partners, and celebrate milestones. Okay, as we get to the end of this video, here's a take-home challenge for you. I am urging you as a husband, sit with your wife this week, not next week, this week, for an hour. Okay, this is Wednesday, man, tomorrow. Or Friday or Saturday or Sunday before this week ends, just dedicate an hour and say, we're going to start very small, okay? Because saying we're going to do the whole day or whatever might be overwhelming for you if this is your first time, or it might be overwhelming for your wife. She thinks that you've been passive this whole time, and then suddenly you like, let's do a whole day of us planning for our marriage. And she's like, well, hold on, mister, you haven't even figured out how to wash dishes, and now you want to do a whole day of planning. So come in very humbly and just be like, man, listen, I know I've been passive, or I know I haven't taken any action towards leading us as a couple. I'm trying to correct that this year. So I want us to just take an hour where we can sit down and come up with a goal for us, a vision for us, a dream, a plan for us as a couple in 2025. And hopefully that's going to carry us for other years. Can we just have an hour on Thursday? Can we have an hour on Friday or Saturday or Sunday, whatever day you're going to pick, okay? But sit down, do that. In fact, now, take out your phone. If you're watching this on your phone, pause this and go send a WhatsApp to your wife or put it on your calendar. If you're watching this on your screen, man, take out your phone and do that. Send a WhatsApp. Or if you're watching this with your spouse, both of you now look at each other and say, one, two, Thursday. Right? one, two, Friday. And we're going to sit down for an hour and actually do this together. Okay, man, I hope that this was really beneficial for you. I hope that it really got you thinking as you plan about your own personal life, career goals, faith goals, that you are also planning for one of the most important relationships in your life, and that is your marriage. If you're engaged, if you're dating, and you're doing so with intentions of wanting to get married, this is somebody that you want to be with for the rest of your life. So, man, plan for that. Don't just let that happen. Plan for it, because marriage is tough. If you don't plan for it, it will slowly crumble. It will slowly disintegrate. It will slowly fall apart. And then you'll end up in that dreadful D-section that I am praying and hoping. And I'm going to do more content with more husbands so that we encourage you to not get there. Okay, hoping this was really valuable for you. And as we close 2025, man, we have a couple of exciting things. So 3 things just to bring to your attention. 1, we're going to have monthly live events. So keep that on your calendar. At the end of every month, we are going to have a live event. We're going to keep you updated on that, and we're going to keep you posted. It's going to be a free event, but the space is really limited. So we'll tell you how many people we can accommodate. And so we would encourage you to really just be the first to purchase your space so that you can come in. And by purchase, it's really just booking, because it's a free entry. So that's definitely something to look out for this year. Secondly, we are going to be creating merch. We are understanding that we are community, we are family. People buy into this. And a lot of you have asked us, how can we continue supporting you? And so we don't want to just say, hey, here are open hands, support us. Although if you want to give us money, please do give us money. We are not saying no to that, but we want to also give you value. And so we want to create merch. We want to just make sure that you are representing us wherever you are, as we hold you in our hearts as well and continue making this content to just bring more value in your life. And we want to extend our presence in your life through merch. So that's something to look out for. And then we also have other episodes that are going to be coming out in the week. right? So Wednesday is going to be our main episodes, and then we are planning on doing an episode on Monday and doing an episode on Friday as well. We will tell you when those drop, and they're going to drop very soon, and why we have those on those days, and what are the themes that we're going to be covering on those days. How are those episodes going to be different from the Wednesday episode? We will tell you all of that. So stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you're updated on every single episode we drop here on That Husband Podcast every Wednesday at 11:30. If you are part of the family and community, thank you so much again for all the support that you've shown us, and we would love for you to share this content with other people. Man, from me and the team here at That Husband Podcast, we will see you on the flip side. Go ahead and plan for your marriage in 2025. Be that husband. Do great things. Right? Peace.